This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Welcome back. It's Monday, the 15th of April 2024, and you're listening to Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, where your hosts Nabila Usman and
Stephen Imediego.
And today, our newsmaker comes from Benue State, where the focus of our conversation will lie. Joining us is Honorable Kennedy Angbo, who is the member representing Otukpo Akpa constituency at the Benue State House of Assembly. The Honorable joins us now. Hello and welcome to the conversation, Honorable Angbo.
Good morning, my sister. My pleasure meeting you.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Our conversation today is on a series of things, right? Benue, like many states, has been at the forefront of conversations around security, around agriculture, and some governance and politics conversation are already also coming out of your state. I'd like us to start with security and talk about the State House of Assembly and what its, if you like, sentiments are regarding the approach to tackling some of the insecurity you've seen in your state recently.
Thank you so much for having me on your show this morning. The issue of security is quite a telling one for us in the state. We have been grappling with insecurity for the last 8 years, as you know. Benue has been ransacked several times. Villages, communities have lost their ancestral homes, their farmlands. We are largely an agrarian state. And so what we hold there is our ancestral land. And we have had the marauders, the Fulani marauders coming in. We usually don't. They say we shouldn't profile them, or we should just call them bandits. But I think what they are is no more than terrorists. So
well, Honorable Angbo, if I may interrupt you, and I hear you when you say that they are terrorists. I think the issue really is around.
They are terrorists. I mean, anybody who takes a life, organizes themselves, they are nothing more than a group of terrorists.
Yes, but the comment you made about highlighting a specific tribe does highlight a sentiment.
I corrected myself right there. I told you that we have been urged not to call them that. But these people have settlements across Benue State, and they rear their cattle and everything, and they allow their cattle to stray into our lands, into our farmlands, and eat up the crops and everything. But just to tell you how grave this has been, in the last 1 month, Benue State has witnessed killings all the way from Agatsu, Apa, my local government, Otukpo, Ado local government, Katinala local government, Vandekia, well, not Vandekia, Konshisha. I mean, there are just about 3 local governments that are not being attacked in Benue right now as we speak. Benue has 23 local governments. Out of those 23 local governments, only 3 are not being attacked, meaning there is invasion going on in 20 local governments. The other day we were in Balom, in way east, where we went to and about 17 people were killed.
Were buried on, this was over the weekend, yes.
Were killed, yes. And then in my local government of Otukpo, they had this series of killings. The other day they killed 15. Recently they killed another number of people. But to also let you know that just last week, Sunday, I mean a week 1 day ago, I was traveling from Otukpo to Abuja on Sunday around at about 3 to 4 p.m. in the evening. That's afternoon. It wasn't evening already yet. And these guys were attacking us just by our local government. They came to the road. They didn't come to kidnap. They came to kill us. And they just opened fire. We were on top speed, and they started opening fire on us. It was by stroke of mercy of God and luck that we were able to escape unhurt and unharmed. So you can see that, they are burning bridges leading to communities so that security agencies and agents cannot come and interfere. So there are certain communities killing people, raping women, maiming children, and all that. So it's quite a terrible thing. And as a state and as an arm of government, what we have done is to reenact the anti-open grazing law. The state has an anti-open grazing law that is enforced. But these people flout those laws and they openly graze their cattle. We've asked them that if you want to graze, we're not prohibiting you from grazing or rearing cattle or applying your trade, but you must ranch them. Not one person has come out to ask for a land to ranch their cattle. Yet, what you see is that you see cattle being herded around the entire state. The issue of enforcement or effectiveness of the law has to do with enforcement. Now, when you pass the law as an assembly, what is expected is that there is an execution, which is supposed to be carried out by the law enforcement agents and agencies. So you have the police. The state also set up, part of the law was also to set up agro rangers and vigilantes. And the vigilantes and the agro rangers are supposed to make sure that these cattle are not openly grazed on the streets of Benue State in any way. To an extent, the government, the previous government, procured certain vans, and they used to haul those cattle in. So again, that in itself generated problems because the herders or the cattle raiders will now begin to make trouble because that their cattle are being arrested. But again, there is a law in place, and every law is meant to be obeyed. So the question is that, are these people obeying the laws of the land? The answer is no. I know that for a while, some people say that, oh, the reason why you have a spike in the killing is because of the law. But if you go to a state like Plateau, for example, there is no anti-open grazing bill there or law. But yet they are killing people on a daily basis as well. So it has nothing to do with the law. Yet, yes, we agree that the laws are not being enforced. So what needs to be done now is that the agencies and the people who are responsible for enforcement of the law needs to do their job. They need to do their job. The courts also need to rise up to the occasion and be able to deal with issues when they are rising. So I believe...
Honorable Angwa, I do apologize for interrupting you. Now, you have talked about the law not being enforced. If this is the case, are the lawmakers in Benue State going to consider an amendment to the existing law? No. Now, in Nigeria, for example, you know that there's a law, there's a law on capital punishment, which is death, either by hanging or otherwise. But you can tell that no governor is able and willing to append their signature on that. That does not mean that that law isn't in place. And there are other laws. I mean, even recently, we saw the case where Bobrisky was hauled in and now sentenced to 6 months imprisonment. Before now, people have been spraying money, and people will still spray money. People are spraying money. But the question is that who enforces the law? And so we cannot cherry pick which law we should enforce. Now the onus is on the people on the arm of government that is saddled with the responsibility of enforcing the law. So it's not about us amending the law. You want to amend the law to say what? You want to repeal the law? No. You want to amend the law that what? That you force the agencies and the agents to do their jobs? No. The question is that the agencies and the government agents who are responsible for enforcement of these laws need to be up and about, and they must do their jobs. We have done our job. Our job is to make laws. Now, if you ask us to go and amend the law, what are we going to amend the law? What will form the amendment? So it's not about amending the law; it's about enforcing the law. Nigeria does not lack laws, but we lack enforcement. Implementation, and that's what we need to touchlight our satellites on.
So, Honorable Angbo, one of the things that I think this was just last month or so when Governor Hyacinth Alia, he actually called on if you like, local actors to stop politicizing the security situation in the state. And he called for a more coordinated and unified approach towards tackling it. One of the reasons why I highlight this is that there are some concerns that in Benue, the conversation at state level does not expand beyond farmer pastoralist crisis, that in some cases there are some of these nomadic communities that are also on the receiving end of attacks by whatever group is involved at that point in time. Would you say that the State House of Assembly is as concerned across the board?
Yeah, we are concerned, and every time there's an attack, the State House of Assembly is almost about the first government arm that runs to the aid of these communities. I can tell you a couple of times that we have put ourselves at risk to go to these communities that are invaded. We've been to Balom, we've been to Ipayongo, we've been to different communities where these attacks happen. We've been to Adoka, we've been to different places. But that is not, our presence alone does not bring succor. Yes, it might bring temporary succor to the people, but it doesn't resolve the issue. The issue is that Benue essentially is not just, it's not a pastoralist state. Benue is an agrarian state. So when you have pastoralists in Benue, there are people who migrated using the old cattle routes to come to Benue because we have fertile land, we have arable land, we have body of water. Now, I can also tell you that just 2 days ago, the immediate past chief of staff to the former governor was also attacked in his house around Agodi town, not too far from within Agodi. He was attacked. His wife and children were kidnapped, and he was macheted. That is within Agodi town, and this is to tell you the extent to which these people are going. And so, I think that the federal government needs to up its game. The Joint Task Force of Operation Wild Stroke has not been able to mitigate because these attacks are coordinated and they go out simultaneously. So, and these people do not they are not omnipresent. So you notice that when the attack happens here, before they rush to respond to that attack there, they hit another community, and so the security agencies themselves are overwhelmed, and so it's a complex situation. And I believe that the federal government needs to come up with a solution to these problems. It is not only in Benue State; there are other states that these crises are up. So it's up to the government at all levels, the local government, state, and the federal, to coordinate efforts in making sure that issues like this are brought to the barest minimum. And the solution truly to it is ranching. Because why there is a conflict is that I have a farmland, but you're grazing. Not only are you grazing on normal grass, you come and graze on our land. You graze on our farmland. You put our cassava. When we have yams in our barns, you bring them, and these people, your cattle eat them, and the ones that don't eat, they burn them, and then burn houses. These are the crises, the challenges we are battling with in Benue State.
So, Honorable Ango, now you've talked about what the federal government has done in terms of the joint task force that it has put in place, and I remember earlier on in this conversation, you mentioned an agro-related security outfit that has been created in Benue State. But one thing that we keep coming back to is how much enforcement needs to be done, how much security needs to be applied in Benue State, especially with these situations that we've seen. We wonder if you have a view on the idea of state policing as a way to solve the security challenges that Benue State is seeing.
The truth of the matter is that state police or community police is long overdue. I know a lot of people have issues with it. And it stems from the issue of politicization of the police or community police, as it were. But I do not think that even the central police that we have right now is not abused. There is no system that isn't abused anywhere. But you need to tighten and improve the institutions. The other day, it was El-Rufai's son at the House of Reps, the Green Chambers, that said that even as a governor, that the state, even at the federal level, with the centralized system, the police is also controlled. So what we need to do is not to throw the bath and the baby water, the baby and the bath together. It's about us looking at the laws and make sure that if a governor usurps the powers or the provisions that set up the state police, that the governor should go in for it. Now, that also brings about the issue of immunity. We must not, at the altar of politicization, sacrifice the police. The truth of the matter is that, yes, we have agro rangers, yes, we have vigilante groups, but they do not have the wherewithal to combat these problems. One, I'll tell you. Number one, they do not have enough trucks to haul in the cattle that are being openly grazed. That's number one. Number two, we do not have a holding centers we do not have holding centers enough to even hold these things, because in the 23 local government, everywhere you go to, these cattle are being
pastured.
And so you don't even have the holding centers for them. That's another issue. Number three is that when you go against these people, they wield AK-47. And what these people, the laws does not allow them to carry the guns. And even if it does, the state does not have the wherewithal to procure the same caliber of ammunitions that these men carry. So you see that it is a complex situation. But then once you have a state police, it will be equipped, because the laws would allow the state to be able to procure arms and ammunition for them.
Earlier you were talking about ranching, right? And this allows us to go back to what was the controversial rural grazing area scheme, of course, the Ruga scheme in this case. I remember that Benue was vehemently against this particular scheme. It does beg the question of, one, whether Benue is rethinking that, or two, what the alternative is. What is the Benue state government suggesting as a way of getting compliance from these people who are residents of the state?
Now, when you talk about Ruga is not essentially a solution. It is a part of the solution. And Benue is not entirely against that kind of system. What we're against is that when you now take a colony and make it, take a land from us and make it a colony for these people to operate. By that, meaning the land becomes theirs. That is what we have a problem with. What we have asked these people to do is that these are private businesses. Nigeria as a state, as a government, does not have one single cattle or cow, as it were. So if cattle, over how many millions of them in Nigeria, are privately owned, why should we use government funds for ranching? I do not have a problem if government wants to do that, if that's a solution. But then the people who own these cattle should approach the government, apply to the state, and say, I need XY hectares of land for ranching. And we would gladly oblige them. The governor, my governor recently made a call and said that the state is open for people to come and ranch, and gave a 14-day.
We do apologize for the break in connection with Honorable Kennedy Angbo of the Benue State House of Assembly. We were speaking to him this morning regarding issues in Benue State. There's been a number of security occurrences where residents and communities have seen attacks by armed gunmen. And these attacks have seen a number of people dead. And as he has pointed out during the course of this conversation, it's not just limited to residents of Benue State. It's also something that has affected some government officials as well. We apologize for not being able to bring you the conclusion of that conversation. But that is our newsmaker this week on your Beyond the News station, Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. We ask that you stay tuned to your Beyond the News station. we've got conversations ongoing, and our next conversation takes a look at the communities we live in right here in our city of Lagos and indeed all of Nigeria. As we switch to Community Watch, we ask as always that you stay tuned to your Beyond the News station.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.